Hi, welcome to Mountain Jim Card Collectibles. I hope you're having a great week. Friday's here. So, been noticing a lot of feedback online, especially on X, regarding Victor Wembanyama's latest calf strain injury. And starting to notice a lot of kind of sports card burnout to go along with Wemby. He's just constantly getting injured. And, this last injury, I don't believe it was really a fault of his own. I mean, basketball can be pretty tough. But the exhaustion that I sense from sports card collectors towards the Wemby cards, Victor Wembanyama himself, I'm definitely getting a sense that there is some burnout. Now, one of the toughest things that I've had to deal with in collecting cards is I'm old-fashioned, grew up in the 80s and 90s, if you know my channel. I like sports cards. And that's what I started out, collecting was sports cards. And, for a while there, I feel like there was a sports card boom, during the pandemic. And, there were people calling our age the junk slab era. And maybe you want to still call it the junk slab era to an extent. But I believe the toughest thing that, old-fashioned collectors like me have to deal with is how collecting is changing. And in my opinion, we are living in the era of Pokemon and TCG. And I feel like sports card collectors are becoming a minority. And why is that? Well, this business seems to be driven by young people, okay? As much as you want to say that the old, wealthy adults are driving the industry, I can't really agree, for the fact that if you go and hang out at an LCS, I'm not sure if you have one in your neighborhood or your community. What I see is the majority of customers are coming in to purchase TCG, whether that's Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh, Magic the Gathering, One Piece, That is the majority of customers. And, I go in and get my sports cards, talk to the owner, And, when I'm there, usually a few other people come rolling in. Maybe a guy, about my age might come in and purchase a box or something. But the reality is we are living in a TCG era. And so you can get into X, and the Wemby burnout is definitely there. And it's there because a lot of people, including tops, fanatics, went out of their way to really hype up Victor Wembanyama. NBA, they're all guilty, And if you're a sports fan like myself, I have a Victor Wembanyama rookie card I'm trying to sell. It's not moving, It's kind of like Caitlin Clark. My Caitlin Clark stuff will not move, okay? And so I ran into this post, And I believe that what this post is saying is spot on for the most part. Wait, Wemby is out indefinitely? Glad I got rid of those. Here he is, showing these Prism rookie cards. Those are pretty nice, So we have some comments here. Replies. And let's just kind of get a sense of what people are feeling, when it comes to collecting his cards right now. Big dude's too fragile. Calf injury scares me, as it should. I mean, he's just consistently injured. calf usually leads to Achilles issues. Bingo. Nice cards, thank you. And they are nice cards. I mean, I can't say they're not. Like it says here, buy the dip. The problem is with Wemby is buy the dip. Well, it feels like there's a constant dip. Let's be honest here. And it's all because of his constant injuries. I think he'll be fine. Yeah. Cross your fingers. He could play now if needed, but they are being extra cautious. He'll be back sooner than later. Yeah, but the problem is when he comes back, it'll probably be a few weeks, maybe a month. He'll get injured again. I mean, these are just awesome cards. I can't say they're not, I mean, I know Panini could have done a better job for that design, but, it's still a nice card. This is a great example of why sports cards and sports card collectors are becoming the minority in the card collecting market. It says here, and this is from the Show and Me. This is just from November 19th. Topps releases record high box price. 1. 2. People get upset. 3. Product sells out quickly. 4. Cycle repeats. This is all very funny to me, yeah. But you have to think who is really getting the product. We all know it's bots, breakers, and usually people who are tied into the Fanatics Topps regime or any other online regime. The people who are upset are not the ones selling out the product. Who is selling out the product? Breakers and people looking to flip. Come on, man, you know this. So who's giving the breakers money? Degenerates, all right? We have the Spider-Man thing. Also, let's circle back here. The hobby product sells out quickly. I'll send you pics of this. It has a little, turd emoji sitting on the shelves of my local Target in a few weeks. That tells you exactly who is buying. It's not the average hobbyist / collector. I believe it. It's still very funny. People complain, but feed the beast, no problem. Because it's not about hobby collectors anymore. It's all about breakers. They stopped caring about collectors years ago. Card inflation is real. And yeah, this is really what's driving people into the Pokemon TCG market more than anything. Whether it's younger people, middle-aged, whatever. Who is buying into breaks? A lot of people. I'm not hating on breakers. I'm pointing out why card boxes are becoming less affordable for the average collector. It's a vicious cycle unless limits are put in place, which is almost impossible. And we have this one. And that's why you buy singles. And that's like me. I buy singles if you don't have to deal with ripping a box open and getting nothing. Of course, when I buy a single. Breakers are the ones keeping the vicious cycle going. The average person is not buying these products. Yeah, we've said that before. How many are collectors and how many are breakers is the question. Yeah, and you can guarantee that, most of the stuff for sports is typically breaking companies. The product goes mainly for breakers. Some of them lose money because people won't pay that much for a one auto spot. Yeah. I can't remove the last time I bought a hobby box. Prices have been out of control for a while. You are not alone. That's what is fun about social media. Everyone has their own viewpoints. I don't rip nearly as much as I used to, and when I do rip, it's usually blaster boxes, but I don't do hobby boxes anymore just because of the price. I just buy singles that I want. Okay, so here I am at GemRate, and this is just a November 19th, 2025 items graded yesterday post. But if you really want to know another big red flag of why sports card collectors, investors, the industry is kind of becoming a minority all in all, you just have to dig into these numbers. PSA did 97.2 thousand, up 9%, but it's the TCG, Yesterday, they graded 55,324 TCG slabs, Last 7 days, 282,353, Last 30 days, 1,135,159 slabs. I mean, the baseball is so far underneath that point. Football, basketball. I mean, baseball yesterday was at, 10,790? I mean, that's still a lot of slabs, but it just can't keep up with TCG, I mean. Last 30 days, you look at, the Pokemon, with 1,135,159. Baseball, 240,219, And that's the biggest driver of sports cards typically is your baseball, followed by football. Sports is becoming the minority collector here. You can't deny that. Sold out my 4th card show in 2 months today. Billed as a mixed show. Myself and 2 other vendors were only ones selling sports cards. Rest was Pokemon /TCG. My sales are pretty much non-existent. Should I be as pissed as I am at the organizer, or am I out of touch? Well, I don't mean to say it. I don't mean to be the bad guy. But there's a lot of card collectors who are out of touch with the current market. The current market seems to be flowing more towards TCG. That's what I spent my cash on the other day at my LCS, was all Pokemon. Okay? And yeah, I've been selling sports cards. I got my sports cards out today, sports card out yesterday. That's what I typically sell as sports cards, because my Pokemon stock has dwindled with all the sales. But if you look at my Pokemon stock for what it is, I tend to make more money off my Pokemon sales than a lot of my sports cards. So, it says here, I should add that this is the 4th show in a row that was billed as mixed, but was all Pokemon. Not the same organizer each time, but I feel like they need to be more transparent when posting info or promoting. I understand they want to make money, but we as vendors do too. And he has a great point, but the problem is I'm not sure, which community this card show was in, okay? It could be a community where, the people who are interested in card shows, you have a majority of Pokemon collectors. And I can't blame. There are some beautiful Pokemon cards, out there. I really like Pokemon cards. And, my last show that I went to, it was majority sports cards. But if you looked at the Pokemon cards, they were getting most of the customers, And, I live in Montana, so I live around a lot of older people, so they're still old-fashioned. I'm old-fashioned. It's really tough for me to go into this card store and just buy Pokemon cards. I just have to pull myself away from sports cards. Okay, today we're doing Pokemon, because I've been doing sports cards for so long, since the 80s. Most smaller shows I go to anymore that are billed as mixed are mostly Pokemon /TCG /funky anymore. Sucks as a buyer sometimes to my man. Drive an hour or two to find a couple tables and sometimes even pay to get in. Yeah, that sucks. You have to pay to even get into it. I don't know why they're charging it at the door. That's pretty sad, but yeah, I drove further out of LA for this one thinking that might make a difference. Nope. Falsely advertised, and multiple buyers commented on it too. Spoke to the organizer, and his excuse was, I'm learning, and some people didn't bring their sports stuff. Just ridiculous. So obviously this was close to Los Angeles. So obviously there's a lot of Pokemon collectors, probably more Pokemon collectors in that region to an extent than sports card collectors. If you were one of the few vendors selling sports cards, you should have been making serious money. Sports cards were what people wanted to buy. It sounds like people wanted Pokemon cards. You can either try to diversify into Pokemon or stop vending until demand changes. Yeah, and that's just it, So my plan for selling cards this next year is more focus on Pokemon than sports cards. And all my other years of selling cards have always been the opposite, Typically, my TCG sales comes in second to the sports. My Yu-Gi-Oh, Pokemon. I could get into Magic. I'm not deep into Magic. I'm more of a Pokemon seller than anything. I originally got into TCG with Yu-Gi-Oh, and I do have the original Yu-Gi-Oh Kaiba and Yu-Gi-Oh decks, which I have stashed away, which I'm likely going to sell sometime. And, the Kaiba deck box goes for, $7,000-$8,000, My Yu-Gi-Oh deck box, maybe a little bit less. it's tough for me to put them up to list for sale, So Yu-Gi-Oh, I got them at the right time. I bought those boxes back in late 2002. I'm just not sure where and when I want to sell them. But that was really my entry into TCG. I remember back in 93, 94, 95, my high school girlfriend had a brother, He was a nerdy guy. I mean, we used to give him a lot of, about the type of stuff he would do. I mean, and that's when Magic came out. And we're like, why are you doing Magic? I mean, stick with sports cards. And he made the right move. I mean, he bought, the first boxes. I don't know if he ever sold them. I broke up, we broke up years ago, that girlfriend. But, her brother, made the good move. And I made the wrong move. I was like, trying to be the big man in the room, stick with sports cards, and he's like, doing Magic. He's the big, high school nerd. I'm kind of a, popular jock type, And my girlfriend would or ex-girlfriend, I should say, would give him a lot of, what as well, because it was just kind of a bad look, I mean, I'm thinking, what was he always doing? He's always playing Magic the Gathering, or Magic back then, and he's always doing like, these paintball tournaments, Whereas I would go out hunting, and we're just like, what is up with this guy? But that's the type of people who took over. And people like me, that were, hooking up with all the women in high school or whatever, we got swept under the rug. And that takes us to the next release of Pokemon that's going to be rolling out on January 30th, 2025, Ascended Heroes, And the thing about the Pokemon community is they are dealing a lot with what the sports card community deals with, and it's this endless string of releases. Typically, though, like, you get in a box of Pokemon display box, you're going to pay less, than, say, getting into, a big box of Topps Chrome, That's hot on the market, So like it says here, this is from Pokemon TCG. New Mega Evolution Pokemon EX. Join Trainers Pokemon and Stellar Terra Pokemon EX and Pokemon TCG Mega Evolution. Arriving January 30th, 2026. All right. So you can take a look at it, what they're kind of promoting. Looks pretty cool, You have the Charizard on there, all these other, Pikachu and these other Mew. All right. Yes, another set of cards I won't be able to find at MSRP in an actual store. Yeah, that's sad, I mean, I've been everywhere in my community. I can't find Phantasmal Flames in any store, I mean, and that's because they're all getting, sold on eBay, scalped, whatever. Would it really hurt to slow down set releases? And this is coming from Pokemon people, I mean, I think if a lot of these Pokemon people went over to sports cards, they would just be pulling their hair out. Here we have someone. I hate this company. So, a lot of the Pokemon fans aren't the most happy people either. That's just it. Pokemon still cannot meet current demand, but let's keep announcing a new set every 2 months. Yeah, well, that's not bad, though, because if you're into sports cards, the sports card sets are just endless, You guys better have a set up better bot prevention system or a system that identifies multiple orders to households for this set, or it's going to be another prismatic ETB drop of disappointment. Well, all these Pokemon people are always upset about the ETBs, the Elite Trainer boxes. I tried getting on the Pokemon Center last Friday, to get Phantasmal Flames. It was like an instant strike. It was like it didn't even go anywhere, And that's the issue I take with the way that, Pokemon, Topps, these companies are getting this stuff out. It's really tough for collectors to get it. And it's just like it goes from corporation to scalper to hopefully a collector, or but more than likely a flipper or another scalper. I mean, I wish it was different. When's pre-order? So you see, there's a lot of excitement. I mean, there's some people who are down, the burnout's there, because they're always battling it. But Pokemon, to me, is becoming the current card landscape. I love the current set. I just wish it wasn't so fickle. Mega Evolution takes back the throne. Sir Muto. I like the Muse. Always like the Golden Muse. I'm always attracted to the Golden Muse. Loving the look of the set. Hope it had a Totodile like the tin artwork. I like this guy. Me trying to keep up. Yeah, good luck. So, there's a lot of excitement for Pokemon. More excitement than sports cards, in my opinion. From the age that most sports card people should be in my opinion. You know what I mean? Like when I was growing up, there were adults that liked sports cards in the 80s and 90s, but typically for sports cards, I'm dealing with other kids, Now, would those same kids be into sports cards in today's day and age? That's the $1 million question now, isn't it? And I doubt that they would. I bet that all of them would be into TCG of some shape or form, whether it's Pokemon, Magic, Yu-Gi-Oh, One Piece, whatever. And why is that? Because they're kids, Kids like to play games. I mean, the thing about TCG is you don't have to stand on the sideline, You can go and play a TCG, match, tournament, whatever. Good luck with sports cards. I mean, you can sit there and be a big braggadocio, I have this awesome autographed sports card. Yeah, but you can't play with it. You can't play it in the tournament. I mean, and that's the issue with, TCG is it's has multi-use. You can slab it up, these beautiful illustration cards, and they look awesome. Yeah, maybe you're not going to play it, but they still have that awesome look. And people are attracted to them. They're hot. So, when you think of Pokemon and TCG versus sports cards, are you living in reality? Because for me, for many years, I just wasn't. I don't want to deal with reality. I don't want to deal with the fact that TCG is taking over the card collecting industry. But, like I said earlier, I'm changing. And my focus on 2026 sales is going to be more on Pokemon. Yeah, I had sealed boxes this year. I need to buy more sealed boxes to resell. I need to get more into that. But that's how I'm changing my game. And I believe it's going to pay off more than just going more in the sports cards like I did this year. And that's the fact that we are living in a TCG era. I just keep saying that. And unfortunately, a lot of us who are older, we don't want to wake up to that fact. We just want to keep doing what we're doing. We're happy doing sports cards. And if you're a collector and you enjoy sports cards, keep doing it. I mean, if it's putting smiles on your face and, you're sleeping good at night, hey. But I'm just kind of trying to raise a little red flag here that the sports card pandemic boom, I believe, is more or less been crushed out for a lot of reasons. Namely, the greed from the sports card manufacturers, okay? They just don't have good prices on their releases. It just scares a lot of people away. I mean, the Topps Chrome Basketball release, for 2025, 2026. I mean, that may as well just be a big scarecrow. It just scares a lot of people away with that big price. And, someone can roll on into Pokemon Center, try to get a box, but at least the box they're going to, get on Pokemon Center is going to cost a lot less, And so that's what you're dealing with is better pricing, to an extent, better cards. Let's face it, some of these Pokemon illustration cards look better than any sports card out there. Their focus is more on artists than the, athlete. And we all know what happens to athletes. They get injured, they make mistakes, their career goes south on them, and all that stock that you've put into it goes down, That's not happening with, characters from Pokemon. So, if anything, I just want to put it out there before I end this episode. This is the Pokemon TCG era. If you're a sports card collector, sports card investor, sadly, you're becoming the minority. Anyway, I'd like to thank my subscribers. I would like to thank my viewers. And if you're a viewer, if you haven't subscribed, I'd really appreciate it if you would, because it helped me continue to build a better channel. Anyway, hope you have a great day. I'm out of here. Bye.